In my I.O., I'm going to be analyzing an extract from Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, in which the author, Jonathan Safran Foer, explores the trauma that Oscar goes through and which is indirectly caused by the global issue of politics, power, and justice. Through the extract, Foer comments on how conflict has a wider effect than just those directly harmed. The extract starts with Oscar thinking that he's still wearing heavy boots, meaning that he still feels bad and that he desperately wants to play his tambourine, saying in line 2, "Sometimes it helps to play a good beat." He then talks about the hardest song he knows, which is "The Flight of the Bumblebee," a song that is very chaotic and incredibly fast at parts. I think this song symbolizes Oscar's life after the death of his father. This is then supported by line 4, in which he states that he made it his ringtone on the cell phone he got after his father's death. In the next lines, Oscar says, "It's pretty amazing that I can play the flight of the bumblebee, because you have to hit incredibly fast, and that's extremely hard for me because I don't really have wrists yet." I believe this means that, despite being so young, Oscar is barely able to live on with the trauma caused by his father's death in 9/11. In lines 7 through 12, Oscar tells a story in which his trauma gets the best of him. In the story, his mother's boyfriend, Ron, tries to be friendly with Oscar, but Oscar lashes out at him. In lines 12 through 15, Oscar ponders about whether we'll ever run out of space to bury people, setting a sort of dark tone. In lines 15 through 20, Oscar shifts gear, reflecting on the gifts he got for his 9th birthday. One gift he got was a white blazer, because he only wears white clothing. He also states that it's too big to wear, so it will last him a while. I think Oscar only wears white clothing because it symbolizes his character. The color white symbolizes purity and as well as mourning. Oscar's quite pure and is mourning his father's death. Also, I think the white blazer is too big because what Oscar is mourning is too much for him to handle and will take him a long time to deal with. In line 20 through 23, Oscar goes back to pondering about the dead, referencing Hamlet. Hamlet is very similar to Oscar in the sense that they are both always brooding about death and humanity. In line 24 through 26, Oscar asks to himself, what about skyscrapers for dead people that were built down? They could be underneath the skyscraper for living people that are built up. You could bury 100 floors down, and a whole dead world could be underneath the living one. In lines 27 through 32, Oscar's trauma takes a hold of him, and he links the idea of skyscrapers back to 9/11, pondering a theoretical skyscraper that moves up and down while its elevator stays in place, saying it could be extremely useful because if you're on the 95th floor and a plane hits below you, the building could take you to the ground, and everyone could be safe, even if you left your birdseed shirt at home that day. Bringing the birdseed shirt back up reminds the reader of how often Oscar thinks about his father's death. I think the purpose of this extract is to show the reader how brutal conflicts caused by global issues of politics, power, and justice destroy more than those who were directly impacted. Foer shows this through Oscar's chaotic thoughts and his inability to move on. The tone of this text constantly goes from lighthearted and childish to sad and depressing, like when Oscar goes from thinking about his tambourine to his fight with Ron, or like how when Oscar is reflecting on birthday gifts and connects it back to his father's death in 9/11. Because of the tone going back and forth so often, it makes the mood quite chaotic and hard to follow, like Oscar's thoughts. The audience Foer was trying to get to is everyone. Not everyone has experienced trauma. Those who have can relate to Oscar, which in turn makes them feel less alone, and those who haven't experienced trauma can better sympathize with those who have. The book has something for everybody. That's what I'm trying to say. In all, Jonathan Safran Foer is able to explore the mental effects of losing loved ones in conflicts related to politics, power, and justice. Within this extract, through Oscar's traumatized mind.